What building has the most stories? The library. Hi everyone! Welcome to my October wrap-up. So today I have a very special guest. It's my amazing friend Sophia, who helped me host the thriller readathon that we did, and we are going to be discussing 3 books that we've both read. We've read The Lottery, The Institute, and Home Before Dark.
And I've also read The Last Sister.
This month I've read When No One Is Watching. I have read The Greek Myths, stories of the Greek gods and heroes vividly retold. I've also read The Thousand Books Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, The Family Upstairs, A Room of One's Own, and Smoke Gets in Your Eyes and Other Lessons from the Crematorium. So I didn't quite manage to tackle my TBR. I actually had quite a couple of books left on it.
I'm quite happy with the books I've read. I feel like I could have read a bit more, but it was quite a busy month as well, so I can't really do anything about that.
Which one out of the 3 that we've both read did you find the most interesting?
Favorite was, it's kind of difficult. I didn't really enjoy The Lottery that much, and I think The Institute was my favorite.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with that. I actually did a review on The Institute, so I'm not going to go over my thoughts as much in this video. This is what it looks like in my feed. You can find it. I'll link it in the description box.
I love Luke.
Yeah, same. I thought Stephen King writes children really well, but I particularly enjoyed having a child prodigy. I don't think I've ever read a book with a child prodigy in it before. It was more interesting for me having Luke be younger, even though, because as a child, I don't think he really understood all the horrors that they were facing fully. There was still that kind of childish detachment, and I thought it was really interesting to read it from his point of view, and that he was young made it even better. And what did you think about Home Before Dark? Because to be honest, Home Before Dark had me super lost. I did a review on it as well. I liked the pace a lot, and the beginning was hard for me to get into, and the ending it felt too rushed for me. Did you have the same problem with the time?
I was actually reading The Institute and The Home Before Dark kind of at the same time, but I finished The Institute way earlier because I got into it actually a bit quicker. And the ending felt really rushed for me. There were just so many plot twists at the ending, and it felt like the author was hurrying up there.
The structure of that novel, I would have probably given this book less stars if it wasn't for the structure. So the narrative 20 years ago and her present time, and the way that you kind of moved with the characters through the story, I thought that was really cool.
I agree with that, definitely. And I also kind of found that in The Last Sister, where there are these flashbacks of when the characters were younger, and I found that really interesting. I like this kind of different times in stories because it kind of makes you think a bit more about the plot.
Let's go back to The Institute for a second, because the book was split into sections. It wasn't only Luke. I just felt at first I got a bit confused when you were stepping into new characters, but because Stephen King really distinguished the voices of each individual, I didn't get as confused as I would have if he didn't kind of separate them all and what their desires were so clearly.
In the beginning, even though it's very short, it felt really boring in the beginning. The characters, they weren't really very developed in my opinion, because it was a short book. It's hard to develop characters in such a short time, but I feel whatever happened in that book, I just didn't care.
How many stars would you give The Lottery?
To be honest, in The Lottery, I think I would give it 3.5 stars maybe, mainly because the ending was very interesting for me.
For me, the way that a thriller is paced is important as well. I feel it should be slow and fast at the right times. I thought it was an interesting contrast how the beginning was how the beginning didn't really have to do with anything. I totally agree with you that the beginning had me wishing to drop the book a little, because the tension, it was there, but it just felt a little off. Were you surprised by the ending of the story? If not, and at what point did you know what was going to happen? How does Jackson start to foreshadow the ending?
To be honest, I was really bored when I was reading the book before the ending, and then when the ending came, I was surprised with the ending and the stones and how it was actually a bit darker than I thought it would become. I wasn't really thinking that much through the book because I was just waiting until it was over. So I wasn't really focused on predicting what would happen at the end, and then it just kind of, you know, slapped me in the face.
What did you think about Dane in Home Before Dark? Like, I thought that I didn't really like him from the beginning.
At first I was like, oh well, he's just there to help the character, I guess. Like, if I had any predictions about Dane, it was probably like, he's just gonna be there to help her, and maybe at one point they might get together because that happens a lot in books.
One final thing that I wanted to discuss with you is daddy issues. Daddy issues in books. What do you think? Yes? No?
Especially in Home Before Dark, I feel like, yes, the main character may have had a bit of daddy issue.
I think daddy issues make reading more complex, but they need to be done correctly. But when it's not, I feel like it kind of puts this whole feeling down. It makes it feel like it diminishes the whole feeling of losing someone. So I would prefer that it be done correctly. So you're not just like making fun of people with daddy issues and you're just adding there for them to be interesting. It's a fine line between being annoying and being a fantastic addition to the character.
I agree with you. I feel like in Home Before Dark, the grief, like, it wasn't really written extremely well. So, especially since it was in the very beginning, like, I didn't feel any empathy at all.
So, Sophia, thank you so much for tuning in and helping me with this video, and I'm so glad to have discussed these 3 books with you.
No problem. I enjoyed discussing these books with you too. Bye. It was nice talking to a camera.
The first book is The Greek Myths, and I found this one really interesting, and I would definitely recommend it, although I felt that it brushed over some characters. It was just like, I would call it, if I had to rename it, I would just say Greek mythology, basic Greek mythology 101. The Family Upstairs is another review that I've done on my Instagram, so I don't want to go over it again because I know that a lot of you are here from my Bookstagram, so actually most of you are here from my Bookstagram, so I just wanted to say thank you so much for supporting me enough to move platforms with me as well. So I have also read Purple Hibiscus, also read A Room of One's Own, which was a 5-star read for me. Oh, I found this book hilarious. I really loved the way that the author talked about death and her extremely morbid job burning bodies in a crematorium in a way that made me laugh at some passages. Like, it felt really light-hearted and at the same time educational. It basically reduced my fears quite a lot. It's life, whatever you do, everyone dies at some point. So let's wrap up. Thank you so much for tuning into my first ever wrap up, and I'll see you next week.